Hello, world. I'm Chris Pirillo, and you've tuned in to another live edition of the Locker Gnome Daily Report, or TLDR for short. It is a Monday morning, and since it's the morning and my daughter is still sleeping in the other room, I'm going to try to attenuate my voice, which isn't always easy for me to do, especially when I get very excited about something. And let's face it, I get excited about the things that entertain me. As should we all. In TLDR, I do a lot of things. It's usually about an hour long. First, I cover a topic. I talk about three things. And then after that, I go into today's Pirillo picks. It's like a show and tell. After that, I answer questions from my community like an AMA every day. And then I talk about today's geek news, or this weekend's geek news, because it's Monday morning and not a lot has happened in geek news. But over the weekend, oh yeah, you can bet that something happened. So one of the things that happened was last night. Now, anybody who has been listening regularly knows that I was ready to do my iPad Pro review, the three things I like and then the three things that I didn't like. I moved it back. That's probably going to be happening tomorrow and then the next day, because I quickly realized that last night was the premiere of X-Files Season 10. And I know that a lot of you may very well be X-Files fans. So I wanted to give you my reaction to this new X-Files Season 10, not to be confused with the X-Files Season 10 comic book arc. Completely different. We're talking about the show. Yes, the show, for all intents and purposes, is back. It's back, baby. Oh, it is. So I will tell you this, that I wasn't a huge fan of the X-Files, though I do like sci-fi. I do like fantasy. I do like this type of show. I never got into it back in the day. It just wasn't my thing. I was more into Star Trek back then. What can I say? I still didn't mind it. It just wasn't really something that I would watch over and over, or even the first time they would air an episode. I was always fascinated by it. I enjoyed the X-Files movies, or I guess the movie that I can remember. So it wasn't a part of my fandom, and I will tell you that right away. So then why would I be interested in watching the X-Files reboot of sorts? Even though it wasn't really a reboot, it's kind of like a pseudo reboot. I'm fascinated by the idea of bringing back an old show, or a show that was formerly MIA, and just interested to see how this plays out, to see where it goes. I feel that after watching the first episode, I want to keep watching. I have no issue with it. Production value was great. I didn't feel that anything was hokey or unbelievable. I enjoyed it. I really genuinely did, and I could see it becoming a part of my viewing schedule as I accept new shows. These are the types of shows that I like, though. Ones that border on truth and fantasy and sci-fi and aliens. I like that stuff, but not always. Sometimes it could be a little too cheesy for me, and I'm not going to get into those cheesy shows right now. The most exciting opening that I had seen in as far back as I can remember, and I will give it that. I mean, it was hit every single note. That opening was awesome. I loved how it blended the truth with fantasy. It kind of set the stage for where we were at this point in time. And many people didn't know that a lot of the footage that was used was quote-unquote actual footage. Unless they had doctored something and I didn't recognize it. I'd seen a lot of that footage before. Obviously, one particular part was clearly computer animated, but the opening was perfect. It pulled me in. I was like, wow. In fact, I usually don't tweet, as many of you know. I don't tweet when I'm watching a show or a movie unless I've seen it a few times over. But I did. I jumped on Twitter right away and I said, best opening ever. That was good. It was good. If it gets me jumping, and it did, it got me jumping. I was in. I was sold. It had me hooked. That was an epic opening. You have to admit. If you didn't watch after that, if you're like, what else is going to pull you in? It was good. It was a solid opening. So that was certainly one reaction. Another reaction I had that is certainly interesting for me, if only because we haven't really known what's happened to Mulder and Scully over all this time that they've been away, even though their characters really didn't miss a beat. It almost had a very, I will tell you, the Force Awakens type of quality to it. So, Scully was very much still grounded, very much, science and doctor. And Mulder was just, wow, he was not exact. I'm not going to say off the deep end. But I will say that he was definitely like conspiracy theory to the max. Like he was ready. But he was also jaded, right? So it felt like the characters were still believable, right? That they didn't miss a beat. Like they were still doing the same thing, or at least themselves, just a little older. Though they didn't. Am I the only one? But I reacted to this. I'm like, I don't think they aged. Did they put them in like some kind of cryogenic chamber? I swear, I'd have to watch the old episodes again, but they didn't. How did they? Did they not like leave the house? I mean, I could believe it with Mulder, but I mean, I can't. They look so not different, which is great. I mean, good for them. But I wow, color me impressed. That was fine. That was great. It was good. Because sometimes when you don't see an actor or an actress for a while, and then they come back in something, you're like, wow, I guess I haven't seen them in a while, and then age suddenly hits them. And I think that's what's going to happen with me. Like one day you're just going to tune in, and my beard, now going into its third week, will be more fully grown in, and or someone tuned in, tweeted last night, like, oh my God, have you lost weight? I'm like, where have you been for the last 6 months? This is what happens, right? But that kind of impressed me too, that they didn't age. That was another reaction I had. I'm like, did I miss something? Like, did they not age? Did they just film this like right after the series ended? So I was kind of happy to hear that they had a child. I'm like, okay, so they tried. That kind of made sense to me, although it seems that, their relationship was a little bit, who knows where that's going to go. But they had a kid. Is the kid still around? Is the kid alive? Was the kid adopted? What was the story? We don't know. So that was certainly interesting to me. I screamed and got angry. Like I was really angry when the alien was crawling away, and the G-Man shot him. Like bam, 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 and then everyone started firing. I'm like, no! I was like, oh man, that would have been so cool. I mean, and then I kind of put myself in somebody else's shoes. Like, what would you do if you were afraid? What would you do? Shoot first, ask questions later, or would you be willing to kind of open your arms for potential peace? I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily embrace the alien. I probably wouldn't have shot the alien unless I knew my life was threatened. Unless, aliens, to show their sign of welcoming you or saying hello by attacking you. That would be a horrible way. Like a handshake would be fine, right? A pat on the back, fine. But openly attacking, I don't think that's not a good way of saying hello. So I screamed. I was like, no! That tells me it's a good show. When I feel emotionally invested in what's going on, even though I don't know anything about the character, I just, that to me is a sign that I really want to watch and keep watching. Another reaction I had, and I realize I'm kind of going beyond 3 here, but I don't think you mind, especially if you're a fan. And by the way, if you're not familiar, I'm not. I'm of the mindset that if you watched me reacting to this episode, you knew that the spoilers were going to be in it. I hate people who complain. I'm like, why'd you watch? Like, dude, you knew that this was going to happen outright. The final thing I'll say, in my final reaction before I move on to today's Pirillo picks, is that they had an interesting approach with this pseudo reset, and I that's the best term I can come up with. It like this it's a pseudo reboot, right? Everything's been a lie, which is interesting because it was almost left with this lingering questions or some lingering questions, right? Well, now it's all a lie, and man has been at the center of the controversy. But obviously, we still have alien technology at play. I just wouldn't rule out a lot more of that paranormal stuff playing out in this season. I expect that, and I think David Duchovny has said as much, and this I believe to be possible. If it does well with the ratings, I think, or in the ratings, however you say it, I think it'll get renewed again. I think it'll come back, and they'll keep doing it as long as there are fans around to support it. You might remember a long time ago on Fox specifically, Family Guy was gone. And then the DVD sales, and I'm happy to say I was part of that, brought it back. Enough people bought the DVDs, and that was just part of it, I'm certain. But it came back. And, that was cool. I mean, the fans kind of brought back Family Guy. And in many ways, I think it's because of the fans, the true fans, and I'm not a true fan of the X-Files. I like it. Could I become a fan? It's possible. We'll see. We'll see how this season plays out. I'd certainly like to encourage it along, if only because I know a lot of people have been X-Files fans. I almost said Xbox. I did not. Do not confuse the X-Files with the Xbox. I think you can put some X-Files on the Xbox. You can access your X-Files on the Xbox through your X folders. All right, I'm going to move on to today's Pirillo picks, and yes, they are picks. You may be able to take advantage of something that I discovered after getting these picks over the weekend. Fun and geeky, and trust me, I think you're going to... Should I spoil it? Should I give him a little spoiler? Fine. My chat here. This is live.pirillo.com. Here's a spoiler of one of the picks from this weekend. I don't even think I need to say anything. This is a spoiler. This is just one of the 4 things that I have in today's Pirillo picks. So tune into that. If you're a patron, keep watching because it's a part of TLDR. We've got about an hour or so to go. Thank you for tuning in. If you want to see all of TLDR, head over to chrispirillo.com to get everything. chrispirillo.com. Today's free podcast highlight was brought to you by all of my active patrons from chrispirillo.com. If you want access to the full TLDR episodes, both audio, video, past, present, and future, which can be up to an hour long or longer, with even more tech insight from me every weekday, plus other bonus content without ads, and support me at the same time, you can sign up to become one of my supernomies too. This is just a brief taste of what I'm producing for you daily. Again, get more through chrispirillo.com.